So that being said, we don't even really have to make any decisions tonight. So anyways.
But it's good for you guys to know, it's good for you guys to know what's going on, and it's also good for anybody out there watching to see that there are ways, and we're working very hard to accommodate any needs within the sewer district that make doing business easier, so, or, working with the business owners.
Yeah, and ultimately, like I said, ultimately, they just tore down the building and had no provisions for sewer. It's like, and like I said, fortunately, Kristen, had the, whatever you want to call it, to come up with this. And so I think that if it does actually go, if we end up doing this, I think it'll work well. I have it set up so it does a bunch of really small doses, like 15-gallon doses.
Yep.
And that'll give this an opportunity, instead of dosing it with 100 gallons, we'll do a bunch of really, really small doses.
And this trench was originally preceded by a cesspool. So we're not sure that this has even ever been used. This might be almost brand new, and will handle.
It looked very, it looked like it was in really good shape. The stone didn't look discolored or anything, so.
And given that this is, newer facilities as they're built, our low-flow devices are being installed,
I think they're only using like 60 or 80 gallons a day anyways.
I think it'd be more with don't they have a lot of,
They don't run it.
huh?
He's not orthodontist.
And oral surgery. He does some oral surgery.
Not, when we were kids, the thing ran the entire time that we were sitting in the chair. They don't run them that way anymore. Plus your toilets are low flow, you got a lot of water saving built into the new construction codes, so.
This is why braces cost so much money. So I guess that being said, no decision has to be made, but if I do come back in a couple of months,
You don't have to
I
re-explain
don't
it.
have to re-explain it to you. But anyways, I was coming in for something else anyways, so we figured we'd run it past you, so you're aware of it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I guess no action needs to be done. I'll submit a revised plan.
Yep,
showing the
and
spots.
we'll act on it.
Okay.
So we don't need to do anything. We can
Nope.
move on to the next one.
Correct.
All right, 1 CR Drive.
Okay, I have green cards for this kid.
Give one.
Green cards and
This one also is a variance. It's not relief that is allowed under that list of pre-approved things for repair.
Again, for the record, George Collins, representing Michael Cohen of 1 Sierra Drive. Mr. Cohen is right behind me. And basically, we went out and I know you guys have seen or heard about the sieve analysis. Sometimes we do soil samples. Well, in this particular case, we took 2 soil samples. Due to the extreme depth of the hole and the limitations of the excavation equipment, one of the holes we were able to show the full 4 feet of naturally occurring material beneath the system, and the other one we fell a little shy. I think it was 23 inches.
10 inches short.
So we weren't able to demonstrate the full 4 feet in the second hole. And there is the historical test pit information, which, jeez, I'm sorry, I have a Boy Scout meeting, everybody's calling me, sorry about that. So to make a long story short, and then in addition to this, we do have some test pit logs from when the septic system went in, and strangely, I don't have any faith in old test pit logs, but strangely, they showed the exact same layers, and they did get the 4 feet, but that's moot. So to make a long story short, we're requesting a variance that will allow test pit 2 not having the full 4 feet. And typically what we do is we confirm this at the time when we're in the field, and then they do the deep excavation, we put in the system, we can go out and verify that the 4 feet is there. So the other test hole shows that it's there. And which one was it again, Mark? I'm sorry.
3, we had 4 feet.
Like
2, we
we
had
did.
38 inches.
So they're like 20 feet apart, so I think it's safe to assume that it's there. And then the old test pit data shows, from the original septic design shows, it's actually very similar to what we had, like 100 inches of dense material, and then we got into some better material.
Was the 28 inches a typo?
Yes.
So what is that? It's
Because
30,
if you do
it's
that,
30.
if you do the math, 178 minus 140 is 38.
Okay, I think I went by because we do that extra 6-inch strip out.
Okay,
So I think that's where I came up with 28 inches.
okay.
So again, we basically don't have enough, we're not showing it. I'm very confident that the material's there, it was just limitations of the equipment. And we can verify this at time of construction.
So when they're digging the excavating hole, they gotta make a large hole and excavate it and bring it down. Then they'll bring the machine into the hole and we'll go and witness the fact that they got down to the 4 feet of material.
Well, I think the large excavator will be able to do it.
Yeah, it'll have a longer.
So right now
bottom.
it's 28 inches you could get down? Or is it,
Well, it's, the bottom of the hole's like,
178.
178 inches, but that was with what's called an extender hoe. They'll have a large excavator which has like a much longer reach, and we can get down that extra couple of feet.
okay.
So what Title V says is the septic system has to be based on 4 feet of naturally occurring material. They were only able to observe 38 inches of naturally occurring material because of the depth and the reach and the size of the equipment. But there's historical data to suggest it's probably there. They'll look to verify it when they put it in, but I felt that it was important. We really can't issue the permit not showing the 4 feet. We may actually take away this variance on install and take it off the plans completely, because it may not be necessary. But in order for them to proceed, the variance needs to be granted.
An alternative was us to go out there with a bigger machine now,
Right.
and that, just the machine would have been about $1,000, so this was the least expensive and quickest way to deal with it.
And if it isn't there, they still are stuck with having to do a repair on an existing system, and this is where it needs to go.
Yeah, good point.
So who wants to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the variance for 1 Sierra Drive,
For letter dated.
for letter dated January 30th, 2019.
All in favor?
Second.
Oops. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. The variance is approved.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you for your guidance, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.
I know.
I got arms like a pterodactyl.
Okay. So now we move into the action discussions.
I know.
Discussion regarding restricting mint and menthol to adult-only smoking shops and bars.
So I received an email from Dr. Hartman. He is a pediatrician at Westwood Mansfield Pediatrics. He's come before the board before and has been instrumental in the state's push to individually get towns to sign on as tobacco 21, and then the resulting push where now the entire state is restricts the sale of tobacco products to individuals over 21. Based on some analysis and based on some studies that have been done, Dr. Hartman, along with some other individuals, are starting to go around and request audiences with boards of health to go over and explain kind of a shocking, not a shocking trend, but a disturbing trend that they're seeing. And that is that the younger kids are smoking menthol and mint cigarettes more than they're smoking regular cigarettes. And because they are available in the local convenience stores, there's an access issue potentially. The menthol apparently makes it easier for them to smoke because it reduces the harshness. They tend to become addicted because they do keep having them. It's not as abrasive a feeling, so they continue to smoke. So he asked that I ask you, would you be interested in hearing what they have to say about this disturbing trend of the menthol and the mint cigarettes?
Well, I think the discussion about menthol and mint cigarettes is a very old discussion. There's nothing new about that. That's how it's been marketed since its inception and why it was marketed to women many, many years ago. So I don't buy the argument that it's new. We also, it's tobacco 21. If somebody's buying cigarettes and they're underage, that's a whole nother category. It's a whole nother issue. So that's my opinion.
I'd be interested. I would. Because I think, though, if we're going to restrict the other flavors that we got out of there, why wouldn't we, especially for the e-devices, why wouldn't we do the menthol as well? Just because it's been around forever doesn't mean it's good. It's right. That's how I feel.
I'm happy to listen. Absolutely.
So, I think it's too much Big Brother for me. You already have 21, tobacco 21. And I think this is an old discussion, but, we're a board of 3, and that's why we're a board of 3.
So would somebody like to make a motion that I would invite Dr. Hartman to come give his presentation, and then you guys can vote, and then I can act accordingly?
I'd make a motion that I'd like to hear more discussion on it.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? What's 2-1?
So then the next item on the agenda has to deal with a discussion of tobacco accessories versus marijuana accessories. When the Tobacco Control Commission put out its regulations, one of the things so historically there was a statute that referred to these types of things that you see in these pictures.
But Kristen, is there nothing in the packet about that?
No, there
Okay.
isn't.
I didn't remember reviewing that.
These types of items were referred to as drug paraphernalia, and they were restricted. They were only allowed to be sold in places that held a valid tobacco permit, and there were some other restrictions on them as well. When the Cannabis Control Commission put out their regulations, they came up with a category of marijuana accessories that then knocked the drug paraphernalia piece away, and now marijuana accessories are considered a legitimate business and can be sold anywhere regardless of any other permits that they have. And so what we're finding now is that stores that typically would not carry these types of items are carrying them and are displaying them very prominently in their stores. And I had another picture that showed this display case that those particular pieces are in being right at the checkout, right at the eye level of basically a 5 or 6 year old buying a pack of gum. Now, under our tobacco regulation, the sale of tobacco accessories is restricted to our 21 and plus smoke shops. What I'm here to ask tonight is whether or not you have an appetite and interest in possibly linking the two together so that these types of accessories would only be available in our 21 plus smoke shops.
Okay, so where were these pictures taken?
Those were taken at E-Market,
Correct.
right down here at the Tedeschi's on,
285 Washington Street.
285.
So these are local pictures.
those are at the register at this level in a glass case, right down the street, across the street from Hilliard's. Similar types of displays and marketing are available in other stores here in town as well.
And so what we're saying is, I'm just trying to, that the tobacco stuff, like jeweling stuff.
Before
that has to-
marijuana,
Right.
not jeweling, but before, and again, that's a whole nother definition to look at.
We're comparing it. So if those have to go to 21 and over shops, why wouldn't this?
Seriously.
Is that
They-
what we're saying?
I'm
Well,
trying to understand.
under our regulation, if somebody, prior to marijuana becoming legal in the state of Massachusetts, the only reason to have these would be to say that they're for smoking tobacco in, and we regulated them and said they had to be in the 21-plus shops. Now, they are in the open, available for smoking marijuana, and we don't have any regulation. I'm not even sure how far we can push it, but I just want to know that you want the issue pursued.
Okay, I'm totally not understanding something. I thought that the sale of marijuana products was limited to shops.
No. Not the accessories.
I'm not talking about paraphernalia, I'm talking about the gummies.
Those are not marijuana gummies, those are CBD.
CBD.
And I have been told, the kids have been saying.
That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother.
We'll get there.
That's another folder.
Is there a purchasing restriction on paraphernalia under 21?
Not that I have been able to,
So that 5-year-old purchasing gum could buy a product.
buy a pipe, buy a rose glass,
Could be
by
any of those, yes.
Be anything else.
a bong.
They're pretty, they're bright colored, they attract kids, they're eye level, and some are even,
Sports logos on 'em.
Gummy bears?
Well, the
gummies
CBD is a whole
terrify me.
Yeah.
separate issue that,
Why don't you pull up and introduce yourself for the record?
jumping out of my chair, sorry.
and I wish I could find.
Kristen Harrison, 90 Lincoln Street.
Go ahead, Kristen.
I go into that store all the time. I buy sandwiches and subs there, and I was in there with my 6-year-old niece. One day, there they were. It was like, Auntie, what is that? Forget the candy. The eyes were all there, and I didn't really want to have that conversation. I just wanted to buy my food and go. There's other products there, but I'll wait to get into that as well. So at the tobacco store, they're called tobacco smoking.
Smoke shops, and you have to be 21 to enter them.
Right.
We have one.
So, we have one in town. We have no restriction on the number of permits that could be potentially operated.
So they could apply for a permit. The e-store could apply for a permit, and we would say yay, no?
Well, in this particular location, what we're looking for guidance from you for is, do you want us to pursue a pathway where these types of accessories would only be available in stores where you had to be 21 to walk in the door?
Is there any other use for the
Yes.
product? Here's other.
The pipes, crack, meth,
Okay.
and smoke any sort of drug. That's what, for a store that's open 24 hours a day, someone in need is gonna shoot over to Easton and get what they need.
And is that, other communities have limited them to,
There
or is this
is
a new thing?
Wakefield, was that what you sent me
That was
today?
what I sent you.
I
yeah.
believe Wakefield has a regulation that was submitted as a sample. I have not had the opportunity yet to find out if other towns, I reached out to Cheryl Spara, who's been in front of you before, that is associated with the Mass Association of Health Boards. I have not heard back from her. Usually she's who we go to because she knows what every other town in the Commonwealth is doing. I have not heard back from her, but there is at least one town that has relegated these over to the 21-plus smoke shops. And there, I guess, are a couple of other towns that are potentially looking at it. I think Ashland and maybe Needham were looking at similar types of things. I mean, if you look at the pictures, you can see there's little glass elephants. This tall one
Yeah.
is
There's also
Spider-Man.
grinders,
The marijuana.
with various colorful
And then
pictures.
if we couldn't restrict them from being sold, would you then possibly be interested in looking at some regulations that put them behind the counter or
I
created
actually
some
would.
type of
In a
visual.
closed hire case?
This is not behind glass?
It
It's
is.
behind
It is
glass,
behind
but
glass.
it's,
It's like a jewelry
Right,
case.
right, okay.
So a child, a little 6-year-old would have to say, can you show me that elephant? Okay.
The public cannot grab it.
But this conversation has been happening with us since September because of the gas station that's selling all this stuff. Also in Clear, similar setup. What is it, Mutual?
In Jay's World,
They have hookahs too.
yeah, who is?
I would be interested.
I would be interested,
Absolutely.
and the faster the better.
Thank you.
I mean,
They have no redeeming purpose.
No.
So, there's lots
It
of
is
stuff.
what it
It
is,
is
yeah.
what it is. They have no redeeming purpose.
If you're a 21-year-old adult, you can go into the 21.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Exactly.
you just go
Get what you
go
need.
over to
They don't put
Brockton.
the cigarettes anymore. They changed that. They're not eye level where the kids can see
Correct.
them.
So let's talk about the CBD gummies.
well, there is one thing, the CBD gummies are not on your agenda. I am doing more research on them, just for your own knowledge. CBD is technically a derivative of hemp, so it's not under the Cannabis Control Commission. It is under the Department of Agriculture, and I have an email out to them asking what the oversight is, because there's basically 3 steps that they would, my understanding from reading, that they would touch something before it came to this. It would be the processor or the production of it, the grower of it, the person that would extract the oil, and then the person who would create the gummies. And one of my first questions was, since this still is not approved federally, does that mean, I'm looking for confirmation that this has to be a within the state type of production line? And if we were to pick these up and see that it isn't, there's also, we could get into that it's not from an approved source. There are a lot of different avenues. I'll have more on this by the next
So has
time.
anybody picked up one of these packages and seen where it's manufactured?
I don't believe the 3 of us have. I know I haven't.
One said, I looked, it said manufactured in the USA, but I spoke to a shop, like one of those nature shops in Raynham to see what they were doing. And he said he would not sell any product that did not have FDA approval and a lot number and all that to identify exactly where it came from.
Were you saying there's no federal oversight on CBD in general?
No, it's not legal under the federal laws.
either is marijuana.
It's not
Neither is
legal.
THC.
Wait a minute.
Nope.
It's not legal to be what?
It's not legal.
To be what?
They consider, my understanding is the federal government still views hemp as, Mass doesn't. Massachusetts law says hemp is not because of the lower THC levels. Federal law, right on Department of Agriculture's website, was saying there's still a conflict and they're still trying to resolve some issues.
That's interesting. I've done a bunch of research on it, and I came that CBD is federally legal and good to go. So I must have had misinformation.
And,
And I did, my daughter's neurologist told me that it should be coming out in pill form very shortly.
Right.
So again, I'm trying to do some more research on this before I present any more information to you guys.
And not that it doesn't have medical benefits or whatever, or that I mean, that's not the question. It's where is it coming from? Is it safe? If you look at the way it's dosed, it's not understandable at all. It's I don't know.
I mean, one of my big questions is, do you have to be 21 to buy it?
Well,
And
to
I
a
haven't even
6-year-old,
gotten
a
an
gummy
answer.
is a gummy is a gummy.
Exactly.
You can get it online, but it's just it's about the kids. It's about the kids.
But
So
there's
there'll be
nothing we
more
can
to
do
come.
about that as yet.
I don't know. That's still in the
Right,
research, and
right.
that didn't end up on the agenda, so I don't want to delve too deeply into it, other than to say we are
So
looking
we
into
can't
it.
ask them to put it away until there's some kind of regulation either then.
Till we get more information, yes, we can't approach
Yikes.
the topic.
Like you have to research that product a lot before you buy it because there's pesticides. There's you don't know who's making
Well, but-
but
yeah.
It's organic.
And that's
It should be the
impossible.
FDA that's
that's
overseeing it.
impossible.
But from what you're saying is some of them aren't?
It's coming under Department of Agriculture, from what I am able to, again, I'm,
It's really hard to understand.
it's,
I mean, it's got
again,
glitzy packaging that makes it look legit, you know, like it's a bag of Fritos. Which I would feel the same way about, but that's another story for another day.
so more to come on the CBD. I will invite Dr. Hartman in to give a presentation, and we will, I will talk to town council tomorrow about what avenues we can pursue as we go down
Pertaining
this.
to,
Everything that I have on my plate.
okay.
And the other product,
Which one?
the male
Oh.
enhancement potency stuff at the counter.
That's a whole nother, again, I have to even figure out who would be.
Again,
You might
thinking
wanna
of
look into the
kids
Super
coming
Gs
in.
that they're selling at the stores too. The kids are talking about it.
Just
Look up Super Gs.
eye level, put it back away,
It's a,
you
it's
know?
a naturally occurring, I think, neurotransmitter, but you can buy it.
What are you talking about?
There's something else called Super Gs that the kids are into.
You just think of
People.
cardiac, you think of the cardiac and all that stuff, if a kid gets that, so.
So I will continue to pursue this with the, under the umbrella that you are looking to remove this from the under 21 access.
Is there any way, though, we can separate this, the appliances out, so they can be removed quickly, and then with the stuff we don't know that much about?
Possibly. Town council's here tomorrow, and I have a whole list of questions.
And this is the only retail store, like if I went into the Little Peach, I wouldn't see this?
I talked
Yes,
to
you
Liz. She,
Yeah,
up
not
by
that
the
store,
school,
but
she just said morally she does not like that stuff. She doesn't want to have that, thank God, because of all the kids and.
And what about the one that's next to Doyle's? Has anybody been in there?
Doyle?
red, no,
White
Rose.
White Rose.
White
I-
Rose.
And I don't go into these stores.
I was
see
in White Rose
anything.
last week.
Did you see?
There is
Oh.
3 other stores that I'm aware of that have things like this.
There are, okay.
That are, yes. Yeah, and one of the items, just for your edification, is hookahs. So culturally wise, you know, Middle Easterners generally smoke these things. So one shop has a very large display of those.
Mutual, yeah.
That's not the one I'm
Not the
thinking
one,
of,
okay.
but there's another
But
one.
they could still get them, they just don't have to be in certain places.
No, that's
Well,
correct.
town council may determine that hookahs don't fall into the same, you know, we're gonna have to look at a whole, I just wanted,
Yeah,
you
this-
guys are interested in pursuing.
Oh,
There's no
yeah.
sense in me going through meeting after meeting with town council and doing hours of research and us being out there if the board's opinion is.
Like, knowing that there's more than one shop makes it feel much less targeted.
Mm-hmm,
Good point.
yep.
That's true.
Okay. So do we need to make a motion, or are we just edification?
I think my marching orders are clear.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you all.
Good to see you as well. So the next thing on is the review of editorial analysis edits. The town went through a process with the town code where they sent the completed town code out for editorial analysis. And things came back that were potentially typos, potentially, they just brought up different questions and made some recommendations. And they might be things that just changed universal precautions, changed to bloodborne pathogens. They're little semantic things in a lot of cases. To have the changes made in the town code, though, we would need to have a public hearing, and you would have to revise all of these regulations for these little pieces. It is a good, if you're interested, I'm gonna ask town council how dramatic we need to be with the posting. Can we post it as a slate? What do we need to do? If you have no interest in fixing these little things, again, I won't waste my time. There are grammatic errors, there things that refer to other things and the piece isn't there that it looked for. So they did catch a lot of things that I think we would have thought would have been caught originally. Some deal with violations, some deal, there were a couple for you that I would probably, you might want to consider. One is the pasteurization one. They brought to light, we have a regulation that dates back to 1950 that says dairies sell only pasteurized milk. Our actual regulation talks about only pasteurized milk being sold in general across the town. They were questioning whether or not state law had preempted that, and it hadn't, because state law says dairies. Our reg said everywhere. So that would be something you'd have to take a look at and decide, did you want raw milk to be sold at the farmer's market? Or were you happy just having only pasteurized milk sold in the town? There were things that dealt with the sanitary landfill, that we don't no longer have a sanitary landfill. Do we need to actually repeal those? So it would be a good opportunity to clean everything up.
I think, for myself, I think we need to see what you're talking about before we can, to have a hearing, to go through a whole process. I mean, I understand that that's the regulation, but I think we need to see how much of these things are outdated, like what you're just talking about, before I can make a decision.
And I would be interested in the things that have been flagged. Are they items that would have repercussions or ramifications, or is it just, like you say, grammatical?
Yeah.
It runs the full gamut, from repealing pasteurization to adding a comma.
But I think for myself, I can't make that decision without seeing it.
Okay.
How do you feel, Lynn?
I think I feel that way too. 'Cause it's kind of like, I mean, if there's something that can be fixed, maybe we should, right? Why not do it now?
Would you want to see it with my recommendation checked off? Or do you want a blank slate?
What?
I thought Kit said something.
Oh, Kit cleared her throat.
Oh, I would prefer your recommendation.
I would
too.
too.
It would make it a lot easier to digest with
Definitely.
recommendations in there.
Not to make more work for you.
No, that actually is less work, because that means you get the stuff that's all marked up that's in this
Perfect.
pile, and I can scan it and email it to you.
Perfect, yeah.
If I had to go back and get them clean
No, no,
and
no.
pull all the individual,
No.
because the whole thing is quite long, but.
Rain, like right now, excuse me, I only go to the one farmer's market, and I know there's no raw milk products being sold there. Are there at the other one?
There was somebody that had applied for a permit back a couple of years ago. And we were able to say, we actually still have a reg on the books. And he said, no, it's only dairies. And we said, no, we have our own local reg that dates back to 1950 that says you cannot sell raw milk in Easton.
Does it say raw milk products or just raw milk?
I don't remember.
Some of the cheeses are made with raw milk.
And then you have unpasteurized.
Unpasteurized. The honeys, we have nothing to do with honey.
Yes, we do.
Honey's exempt.
Honey's is off the table,
Honey's off the table.
but you just have to have the milk.
Good.
Raw honey.
No, I think for myself, I need to see it.
Okay.
Okay, so
We will
that doesn't,
scan and email it to you then.
that doesn't require a vote either.
Nope.
So betterment applications.
We are not.
Alrighty.
Just as I did submit an article to town meeting to request another $1 million. The documents authorizing the treasurer collector, the selectman authorizing Connor, I think, is how it's worded, to borrow the last $500,000 that we had approved on town meeting floor. I think might be on their agenda tonight. If not, it's coming up in a meeting. So we would put another article on asking for authorization to be hanging for another $1 million worth of borrowing, which should help and would be available to anybody looking to tie into the sewer because their septic system was failed.
Okay, any other issues or?
Just recently, we had a water main leak at the 305 Turnpike Street Mobile Home Park. Took them approximately a week to fix it. It is now fixed. There's still other issues that we're looking at in the Mobile Home Park, as always, but that's the most recent one. Fielded a complaint today about possible septic outbreak. I went and viewed it, and it's crystal clear water and no smell, so I'm thinking it's groundwater, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that. And Tim had a complaint today for that he
Restaurant complaint.
restaurant complaint. And so now we're just doing restaurant inspections and to get them all done by the next round, which will be July 1st. So.
Lots of new restaurants. Okay, somebody'd like to make a motion for adjournment?
Sure. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting dated Monday, February 11, 2019 at 6:47 PM.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? All right. Wait till she bangs